right, guys, welcome back to the Walleye Files. I am super excited to bring you this episode of the Walleye Files. We have the most recent National Walleye Tour champion from Pennsylvania, Mr. David Hoisington. The man knows how to catch fish, and he is a great dude. Shows a lot of passion, shows a lot of excitement for the walleye world, and that is something I feel like we're missing. It was just a great experience to get to talk to him. I had a lot of fun recording this podcast. Not that I don't have fun with all of them, but this one was just a little extra fun because you could see the excitement, you could see the passion and a little bit of emotion from him when we talk about winning a National Walleye Tour event, which is, as everybody knows, very, very difficult. Again, thanks to our amazing sponsors, Thunderhook Fly-Ins, Striker Brands, Lake Effect Lures, Walleye Nation Creations, and Bellevue Spice Company, makers of the Walleye Files Friday Night Fish Seasoning. If you don't have any, make sure you get some. Contact me at the Walleye Files Facebook page or any other social media account to get yourself some seasoning. But without further ado, David Hoisington. Welcome back to the Walleye Files, guys, and we've got a National Walleye Tour champion and quite possibly the most popular man in fishing right now over the last week. David Hoisington, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm living the dream. It's good to be on here with you.
It's great to have you. Are you still on Cloud 9?
I am, and I hope I never come down from Cloud 9 because this has been an awesome experience, and it just keeps going, with like all the community involvement and just getting back to work and hearing from my employees and going around to, my suppliers and other people we do business with there. It hasn't stopped yet. So I'm still on Cloud 9.
I don't think it's going to stop for a while, man. We talked about this real briefly before we started. Winning isn't easy. That is, there are only 5 champions in a year on the National Walleye Tour. And, man, there's a lot more repeat champions than there are guys with their single. Mm-hmm. So congratulations to your first one. I'm going to be chasing that one for a long time, I feel, but that's awesome that you got that one out of the way on your first season of the National Walleye Tour.
Yeah, I'm still pinching myself. Like the whole goal was just to make the top 40. And then once I put, I travel with my my traveling partner, Andy Travis. He's had a lot of success in like every circuit he's fished, the Loot, Ohio Walleye Federation, just any tournament he's done, he's always had a lot of success. So he was like the driving force of why I did it. Then like just the first couple tournaments, it's like, we're not even like trying to win. We're trying to figure out where to drive our boat so we don't smack on bottom, because we're from, we're Great Lake fishermen and deep reservoir fishermen. So we don't have to worry about where we're driving our boat. So it's just been an awesome first 4 tournaments. Learned like the ones we didn't do so well on, we learned so much. But now this one, we're enjoying it. And I like to say it's a team effort. So it's fun to have Andy in it. We have another traveling co-angler, Shane Doty, with us too. So it's been fun. We're living it up right now. All 3 of us are celebrating together.
That's awesome. And you got to have that good camaraderie when you're on the road. It's great to be able to travel with guys that are your friends, that become kind of a home away from home family a little bit. Especially, I mean, you live in Pennsylvania. You are not close to anything other than Lake Erie for the most part on the National Walleye Tour. Your closest stop obviously is Dunkirk. Alpena's a little bit of a ride, and then you've got La Crosse this year. You've got Lake Sharp this year, I believe.
Yeah,
too.
Sharp.
And that's a haul.
That was a haul. That was 23 hours. Yeah, and yeah, that was a haul. So
what, right out of the gate here, what possessed you I'm going to hop in and fish the National Walleye Tour this year?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess from the beginning, like so I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always worked for myself, and most of my fishing was like, it was my escape from work. It was my decompression. So I just went out and I didn't even really care if I caught a fish. I just went out and like, hey, I'm not at work. I'm not stressed out. And then it turned into like, I was fishing with I got into fishing because of my cousin Dan Huber. He took me out on his boat and we just went and got some really nice walleyes. Then I've always had like a competitive sense to me, playing high school sports and being in business. And then it was instantly like, hey, let's start doing tournaments. So we started doing tournaments, and we were cursed with like the second place bug. Then finally, like once we got introduced to forward facing sonar, I feel like me and him like just took that on, and I just started like really studying it and figuring it out. And once we got over that hump, that's when we started having success, and we, won, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 tournaments. And it was like, this is fun. It's not about, just coming out here and looking around and getting decompressed. It's like, hey, let's win. But the same time we were doing that, it's like we still always were rooted in like, hey, this is for fun. Like, we're not gonna, if we bomb a tournament, it's like it's still a good day of fishing. If we do really good, it's a really good day of fishing. So that's one thing that's always been like the core of me in fishing tournaments. Like, I have enough stress at work, and I don't need to have that now, So having him as a fishing partner and learning from him was awesome. Then I got hooked up with like even when me and my cousin were fishing, we always wanted to be Andy Travis, Joe Papalea. They were like team tournaments. So, it was always like, hey, let's go beat them. And if we beat them, we might be in the top 3 or something. Then Andy, me and Andy have been fishing pretty tight together for the last year or two. And he's like, I think we should do this. And I'm like, let's do it, So, and here we are, we jumped on the NWT, and now we're hooked. We were hooked before I won it. So we're just excited to go fish different bodies of water, like learn so much more. I love fishing my own home body of waters, but when you drive 23 hours at the Lake Sharp, walleyes are a lot different. And so it's been a great learning curve, especially the Mississippi River too. That was a learning curve.
So what was your favorite part about those first 2 events? You didn't have crazy awesome finishes, but you got great points, and obviously you learned something that if you choose to do this again next year and the year after and so on, you're going to take those lessons and really turn them into high finishes at some point.
Yeah. So like honestly, the first 2 tournaments were great for us. Like Sharp, we figured out how to break down water, because that was such a long, skinny piece of water. So you had a river system and you had a lake system, and we are not river system guys. So we finally learned, we're like, we got to get out of this river system. And I wish we would have learned that like before. Like, I think it was like the last day, we're like, what are we doing in this river? We need to get way down south. But what we took away from Sharp is like, we were in it. We had the right bite. Andy did a lot better than I did. I kind of panicked and went for it and made like a 17-mile run after fishing for like 2 or 3 hours on day 1. Then I came back and scrambled just to get 5 fish. And so that was a good learning curve. Like, breaking down water on Sharp was our learning curve. Then the Mississippi River, like I was actually hunting in Alaska, so I didn't have a lot of time to pre-fish in Mississippi. But right when I rolled in there, like, I found the winning spot, So I'm like, at least to know that I stumbled upon the winning spot. Then day 1, I had I was boat number like 64, and I drove up there and I saw like 7 boats stacked in there, and I'm like, I'm a rookie. I'm not going to go bumping boats next to John Hoyer and all these guys. And I'm just like, this is just not my time and place. Like, I didn't really have it dialed in. I just knew. I went in there, bang, caught some fish, went and checked again, caught some fish. So that was like a scramble tournament, just went away. I was just trying to catch 5 fish. And honestly, I had some really good coes that tournament too. So I learned a lot from my co-anglers that tournament. So those 2 tournaments were awesome. Then we were really excited for Huron, because we knew this was going to set up right for us. And that was a fun tournament too, because Andy cashed a check on that one. I had a really good day 1. I was in it, and my day 2 just like day 2, we had our spot where it was right next to the boat launch. I actually expected more traffic, but on day 2, like, the guys that I think that made long runs and it didn't get paid off for them, they came and like set up right by us. So we had a bunch of sonars pinging off of each other, and our fish just like went to bottom, and they weren't biting. So I had to go scrambling for my fish, and I ended up getting 5. But like, we were there, and I knew that Huron tournament, I'm like, we can get in the top 20, and that was our goal the whole time. Top 40, cash a couple checks, and Andy cashed the check that tournament, and I was happy with my finish after running around scrambling and panicking and almost having a heart attack, thinking I wasn't even going to catch a fish day two. So it was a good time.
And then, I mean, obviously, you kind of cleaned house a little bit on the last one.
Yeah.
Take me through your pre-fish. Did you know in pre-fish you were like, I'm on the winners?
No, absolutely not. So the whole time, when I go fish Lake Erie, it's like I get four of my buddies in my boat and I tell my wife, hey, I'm going to the grocery store. We're going to go fill the freezer. We'll be back at like 1 o'clock. We're going to fillet fish in the garage. And it's a great time. So we like during all these times of going out and fishing with my buddies, we fish Barcelona. So it's real close to the Pennsylvania border. And just from fishing there, like I knew there was big fish in there and I could, get on the front mount and scan right through them and pick out the big ones and catch them. But then it was like 2 days before our pre-fish, the lake flipped over and it was like from Dunkirk to Barcelona and it went into Pennsylvania. So it's like any home court advantage we had was out the door, and I was kind of praying for like rough weather, just so like I knew like if it's like 2 to 3 footers, you're not going to be able to cover this ground as much. So I was like praying for like as most home court advantage as I could get, but it didn't work out that way. So we ended up going to fish new water. Andy has a lot of experience on Erie. He took a first place there this year. He took a second place in a big tournament this year too. So he had confidence, but like I get seasick. So the only time I go on Erie is when it's flat. And like so I haven't really explored a lot on Erie. So it's like every time I go there, it's like fill the box up with my buddies, get back home. If it's flat, we get to have some fun. But I got like these scopolamine or something patches, so I'm good up to like 3 footers now. And it was just a blast in pre-fish. So most of pre-fish, like I started out in Buffalo. I was in shallow water, just trying to fish some structure, like cross things off the list. And it was my first day and it got rough out and I was just having fun because I wasn't getting sick. I didn't put my patch on or anything. And I fished most of the day, caught a few here and there. Then I was like just coming back on the Canadian border, up on the front mount, bobbing around in the waves, and I was just scanning, and I was like almost ready to be done, and I scanned around, and I'm like, I just saw this massive bait cloud, and like there's a ton of bait in Erie, there's a ton of fish in Erie, and this was just abnormal. So I'm like, holy cow, I got to mark this, marked it on my graph, labeled it, and I got a 5-pounder out of there, but I'm like, it's, I'm not looking for fives. I think it's going to take a bunch of sixes. So I kind of like forgot about it. And then the next few days, like we were pre-fishing and Andy found a spot where he caught like I think it was a 7-pounder. Then he backed it up with like a 6-pounder. So we're like, all right, cool. We found something. And it was mainly just a bunch of smelt on the bottom and finding the big marks above it. But it was like 2 days later, I was close by to that area and Andy's like, hey, go check the spot out. I went and checked it out and like it was a ghost town. And it's harder to find a ghost town on Erie than it is to find fish. So like you can drive out there, close your eyes, throw the front mountain down, scan around in 50 feet of water to 150 feet of water, and you're gonna see walleyes. So I'm like, here we go. Like our only spot, we were like struggling, and the only other program I had was like just scanning with my 2D, driving like anywhere from like 30 to 38 miles an hour and marking bait up top. Like I think they were like shiners up top, then the smelt on the bottom. And whenever I saw like the mixture of bait up top and bait on the bottom and you get the hooks, the walleye marks in the middle, I would like mark it, turn around and actually go try to catch that individual fish. That was my only program I had that was consistent. So I was like, I don't see myself tournament day, like driving around and, marking fish and, casting on them, then driving around more. Like I'm going to be too nerved up to not have lines in the water. So I think it was 2 days before the tournament. I was like, all right, I'm going to ride this Canadian border from like, I think it was like, I don't know, it was like Dunkirk all the way to Buffalo. I'm like, I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to drive. So I started driving and I never saw anything. Then all of a sudden I get to my waypoint and I looked at it and it was like, I wrote like bait ball on there. And I was like, oh, well, it's probably changed, you know, and I get on there and my 2D just lit up. Like the screen just went blue. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, you know? So I put my trolling motor down, sat up there and looked at it. I looked at this bait ball and honestly, like, I think I saw like one walleye attack and bait, and I knew it wasn't a big one, but I like called Andy and I'm like, dude, I found the spot. Like, I found it. You know, I don't know why I did this. But then he's like, okay, cool. He's like, whatever. He knows I'm a dramatic person. And he's like, he's probably off his rocker or something. So then finally I'm like, okay, I gotta catch something. So I looked over and I saw like this nice looking walleye. So I casted at it and it just bit instantly and I weighed it. It was like it was either 7.4 pounds or 777. And I'm like, awesome, you know, like took a picture of it and threw it back. And then I looked over and I caught I think it was a 6 pounder, and then I caught another 5 pounder. So then I called them back. I'm like, I just stuck them. Like they're here, you know? And I left and we were fishing with, a group of guys from, a neighboring town, the Willow Creek Sportsman's Club. And they're three great guys. And right when I left, I saw one of those guys come and like stop right on the bait ball. And like later that day, I'm like, gosh, like those guys are going to fish it. I'm sure they knew it. And so I'm like, I just went in panic mode. I'm like, I don't want to be on a spot with 6, 10 boats there. And, you know, this is the tournament they're doing. And I'm like, I'm going to I'm going to drive the whole lake and find another spot. There's gotta be another spot. So I'm really close to Buffalo and I did the same thing. I got back on it and I just started scanning that lake. 30, 38 miles an hour, never really found something. I drove from like Buffalo to Barcelona. I had Shane grab my truck from the boat launch up near Buffalo and pick me up in Barcelona. I just went nuts, like trying to scan for something. And I end up talking to those guys and they're like, yeah, we're going to be fishing it. And I'm like, I got nothing else. So I'll probably see you guys there, you know? So I wasn't super excited about it. So that was pretty much pre-fish. Like I struggled. Like I was catching 5 pounders. I couldn't really get 6 pounders. And, so, you know, come day one, it was like, all right, let's go to the community spot. You know, I hate fishing community spots. And, you know, once I, you know, I hit the throttle, I'm driving halfway there and my motor starts bogging down. I'm like, here I am in like this 2023 Vexus. I don't even know if it has 70 hours on it. And the like Suzuki's are bulletproof. So I wasn't really worried that was like my motor. I'm like, man, I must have got bad fuel. My fuel filter's clogged up. And so I was like, what the freak, man? Like, why does this happen on an NWT? You know, I fished so many tournaments on junkier boats and never had a problem. Here I am on the NWT, having motor issues. So I felt bad for my co. I'm like, hey man, we're gonna make it there, you know, like hopefully we make it there. So we end up making it there, and I pulled up and I was surprised. I saw like 4 boats there, and it was a pretty big bait ball. So I'm like, all right, let's go to work, you know, put the trolling motor down. And I was looking around, the bait was a little dispersed, and I'm like, oh geez, here we go. Like the spot's it's been here for 7 days now. It's gone to the day of the tournament. You get all these negative thoughts in your mind. And I started looking around and I'm like, holy cow, there's a nice walleye there. Like I was seeing some nicer walleyes and I was casting on them. And I hate to even admit this, but like, I don't care, you know, like something happened with my transducer on my front mount where it like just twisted just a little bit. I was like casting like 10 feet off. And I always tell everybody, like, Andy Travis is an angler. Like, I'm a guy that has worked super hard, running my front mount, having great boat control, studying what's a walleye, what's a big walleye, how are they set up, how are they acting, what's their behavior, all that stuff. Like, that's my style of fishing. And I'm always asking Andy and Shane, like, hey, what rod should I buy? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just such a busy guy that I'm like, I don't research anything. It's like, I just call Andy, like, hey, Andy, what do I need on my boat? And he like does it for me, you know? So, it was really frustrating. And so I hate to admit it, but I fished for like 45 minutes with like, I thought I was nervous. I was like miscasting and I kept telling my I'm like, the only thing I'm good at is like staring at the screen. I don't even need to look where I'm at. Like I can cast this way and I can see my jig land and I'm staying on the fish. I'm really focused. Like that's what I'm good at. And I can't even do it right now. So it was frustrating. And finally I'm like, dude, something's got to be wrong. I pulled it up and I'm like, freaking transducer's crooked. Like it wasn't even rough out. I don't know how it happened, but whatever. Straightened it out and literally I put it back down and it was like, I put it down. The first thing I saw was like, I'm like, dude, this thing's a giant. Like, here we go. So cast it on this thing and this big girl just came up and was a no-brainer for her. Just bit it, set the hook as hard as I could. I've been setting the hook so hard on these walleyes and landed it. And it was a 30.5 incher and it was I think the scale said 8.8 pounds, but like I ended up finding out my scale wasn't right. So I really believe that thing was a 9-pounder. So we just caught like a unicorn. So we were pretty pumped about that. Then I just started scanning and the whole time I just like, I heard like Tom Wynn's voice, like just like fish patiently, like look at the fish, study them. And that's the way I fish. Like I'm really conservative. I'm like, I want to see this fish. And I just kept like with my transducer, I was like, head to tail, I'm studying this thing. And I'm like, I think it's a 5-pounder. I'm going to drive past it, so that was my style of fishing day one. And, I got that 8-pounder in there. Then the next fish I was looking and I passed some fish up and my co-angler, Andy Benz. So I got Andy Travis and Andy Benz and this kid was freaking phenomenal. So in the beginning, I was like, once we threw that 8-pounder in, I'm like, hey, there's going to be packs of like, there might be a pack of 2 5s and a 6. So like, let's double cast on these things. And we tried doing that. And I think he was just such a nice kid. He didn't want to like tangle my line or get too close to me. I was like, cast 2 feet to the right of me, and finally, once I started like really getting into him, he's like, he got pumped and he's like, just keep fishing, keep fishing. And he started like hooking the worms on my jig. And like, if I wasn't sure about a fish and I would cast on it, I would like set the hook and I'm like, it's a 4-pounder. He's like, give me the rod, give me the rod. So like he would reel in the fish and we were circulating through 3 rods and I would just grab another one and keep going. And that just kind of set the tone of day one. Like, and before you know it, I threw 3 in the box. It was like an 8-7 and a heavy 6. And I'm like, Andy, don't let me throw 6 fish in here because then it's all you. So we were looking around and I'm like, we were just fishing so good together. I was like, I can't wait to see it. Like another big fish. I'm going to cast on, I'm going to set the hook and give him the rod. It's like a lot of times you're like, all right, it's a 5-pounder. Let your reel it in. I'm like, this kid like deserves setting the hook on a nice fish. So, well, I set the hook, but I cast it on another one and it was another like really heavy 6 on the scale. So it was probably a 7. Set the hook. He reeled it in. I netted it. We're pumped. And so we did that. We got 7 fish in the box and it was like 12:30. And I was like, all right, Andy, like I'm going to fish for another half an hour because I knew we had like, at that time, I thought we had like 34-ish, they're 32, 33 pounds. And, I was like, I don't want to be that guy that like has a 33-pound bag and he's late to weigh in because my fuel filter clogged up and I had to go 20 miles an hour back. So I'm like, we're going to fish till 1 o'clock, no matter if we catch 7 or 8 fish. So I just started searching again. I was just moving so slow. And these walleyes, like you could see the 3, 4, 5-pounders just attacking bait. So it was cool to watch it. I was like calling Andy up. I'm like, dude, just check this out, man. And you could tell a big difference with the way the walleyes were acting. Like this day, these big walleyes were like down probably about 40 feet of water and the thermocline was at 50 and I was fishing about 62 pounds. And these big walleyes were just moving slow. And you could tell they were like just moving with confidence. They didn't need to be darting around, wasting a bunch of energy. And I mean, I chased some like 5-pounders down. I was like driving for 5 minutes after these fish. And I noticed after chasing them, I'm like, I need to keep searching for these big ones. And once you find the big ones, they're not super spooked, it's spooky and you can get them, get on them and cast at them. But, the one thing I didn't want to forget to say is like, I did catch like a 4.5-pounder one time and I think Andy was taking care of a fish, and I grabbed it. I grabbed the leader and I just tried to like yank it up over the boat like an idiot. And I broke the line, and Andy's like, let me tie it, let me tie it. I'm like, all right, cool. And I was kind of thinking in my head, like, I should probably be tying my own leader, or like tying my own hooks up, my jigs up. But he's a good fisherman. He knew what he was doing. But I just think when I snapped the line, like the leader was probably junk, like 12 inches up. And so he gave me that rod, and I, was like cycling through it, and I knew it was the one. He retied, and I saw a fish, and I cast it on it, and it took it, and I set the hook, and it just instantly broke. And I was like, this is how you lose tournaments right here. But like, I just heard like my cousin saying, like, just go have fun. I heard my grandpa saying, like, go have fun, don't freak out, like it's not worth ruining a relationship over, and instantly I was like, Andy, like, give me another rod, give me another rod. And I followed this fish for like, it probably felt like 10 minutes. It was probably 2 minutes, I don't know. But I just followed this thing forever. I'm like, I am going to catch this fish. And most of it was just like a redemption thing, to know it wasn't like a 6 or a 7 pounder. I didn't care if it was a 4 pounder. I'm like, I am catching this fish so it doesn't haunt me. So I tracked it down and cast it on it a few times, couldn't get it to go. Finally, I like moved around, like kind of changed angles a little bit. I don't think it had anything to do with it, but just cast it on it, finally got it to go, and I caught it, and it still had my jig in the mouth, and we landed it, and we were like pumped. We celebrated that fish, and it actually was our smallest weight fish. It was like 5'9", 5 pounds 9 ounces. So after that, then just to finish off day one, and I'll stop talking so much, but
you're good, man. You're good.
Yeah.
You're passionate about it. You're enjoying it. And this is fantastic. This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Lake Effect Lures, the tackle that turns every cast into a catch. Built for serious anglers, tested on real fish, and proven to get bites when nothing else will. Get yours at lakeeffectlures.com.
Okay. After that one, like, it was probably like 12:50 or something. And I'm like, I know I'm getting down on my time. I want to leave at 1:00. And I was thinking in the back of my head, like, I can extend this another 15 minutes, like whatever. And I looked over and I saw a big one. I'm like, I know this thing's big. Like I just examined, 80 fish today. This is a no doubter. And I called Andy up. I'm like, Andy, come look at this thing. And I cast on it. It was only like 65 feet away, and I like to get them like 100, even 80 feet out. It was pretty calm that time of the water, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna, hopefully this thing goes. And got it, and it just kept following it, and it was so cool to watch this fish. And I kept saying, this is a hog, like, this is a hog, this is a hog. And I couldn't get it to go, and cast it on it like 5, 6, 7 times, and it just wouldn't go. Then I'm like, hey man, give me that jig and wrap, So he got me a jig and wrap rod out, and I threw it at it. And I am not a reaction type of guy, like, I'm not good at it. I'm a finesse fisherman. And so I just started ripping that thing right by its head. I'm like, I'm just going to start snapping it, and it like, that fish got fired up, and I knew it wasn't like darting, like it was going to commit to it. And I just knew like how it was acting. I'm like, it's not going to go off of this thing. I got to put this worm in its face and get it to go. But after that, I just feel like I fired that fish up. Like, I don't know if this is a thing, but it ended up working. Yeah.
It's a thing.
So I got like the blood pumping in this fish, and I cast it on again. It was literally the first cast with that worm, and I put it right on its nose. And one trick on Erie is like, hold that freaking worm right in its face. Like, I do not twitch them. I like, hold the thing right in its face. Then like, if it doesn't bite, just do like a slow reel. Like, I'm talking like this fast, like a slow reel. And finally that thing was going. And once I started slow reeling it, it was horizontal. And that I'm getting chills right now talking about this thing. Like, that thing turned up, and I watched it. Like, I didn't like watch it open its mouth, but I just saw like the fins and the shoulders on it. And I just watched it, like my jig was gone. And I'm like, here we go. I like this one. I actually like really reeled into it. The rod loaded up. I'm loading this thing up like extra. And I'm like, I just don't let go. And I freaking set the hook as hard as I could. Like, I was trying to snap these St. Croix rods. And that thing came, like, it fought for a little bit, came in, and that was an 8.4 pounder. So 29.5 incher, and we just went berserk. I've never hugged a man I met 4 hours ago in my life. I mean, we were freaking celebrating. So he ended up, he had 2 in the box, and that capped it off at eight fish in the box. And I knew, I'm like, dude, I think we got 34, 35 pounds. Like this is an amazing bag. Like I remember Isaac Lockich saying, like, you need, he's been in it a couple times, and you need special days to win the NWT.
This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Striker Brands, built to keep you warm, dry, and fishing longer. From ice to open water, their gear handles whatever Mother Nature throws at you. Find yours at strikerbrands.com. Go early, go late, and go prepared.
Need special days to win an NWT, and I'm like, I was even like, if someone comes in with a 38-pound bag, like, I'm happy for them.
They beat you.
I could not have done any better. My goal was 30 to 32 pounds. That was my goal. And I thought we had 34, 35 pounds. So we took the glory ride back and just did like 25 miles an hour, just praying to God my motor wasn't just going to shut down, And we just broed out, talked about life. And that's what I love about this. Like, I made a great friend, and heard his life story, he heard mine, and, we went in to weigh in, and we hung out a little bit, and, it was cool to have my cousin, come there, and he jumped in the boat, and like, I'm like, Dan, you got to come see this bag. And he helped me like weigh the fish just to make sure we were weighing in the right ones, and just to see how excited he was. And it was just it was a special moment. And then we went up to the scale, and I was waiting to see like 35 and a half pounds, and set it on there and went right to 37.00. And I was like, oh my gosh, we just weighed in 37 pounds. Like, this is awesome. So then that was like super exciting. And, then I got, it's like I got all the interviews and did all this stuff. And now I am the number one guy. So, I felt, I didn't really feel like a ton of pressure. I'm like, I just knew in the back of my head, I'm like, I gotta calm down enough to go out there and have fun. Like, I didn't think these fish were going to go anywhere. I didn't have a ton of pressure on it. And I'm like, I'm like, what's there a point to worry? And I'm like, I'm pretty anxious. Like, when it comes to being competitive, I'm really anxious, So, then luckily, like, got to give a shout out to Lime Lake Marine. Like, I was panicking about my boat more than anything. And that's where we buy our Vexuses from. And Ashton Laird came down and brought a fuel filter down. I talked to Jeff, and I'm like, hey, can Ashton get on my boat and run it? And it seemed like it helped, a little bit. He's like, hey, I was getting more RPMs out of it. And that just gave me the confidence of like, I'm the first place guy. I'm not going to go out there and break down. Like, I know I'm going to get there, So that was the end of day one. And I tried to get some sleep, and then it was day two. So
did you sleep?
I actually, like, I was talking to my wife at night, and I just tried to express to her like what this means to me, like being number one in an NWT. Like, I have so much respect for everybody on tour, and then, like, all my employees, like, I got one guy, he's always like, dude, you can go out there and you could win it. And I'm like, not like, I'm not gonna go play golf against like Tiger Woods and beat him, but like, I knew I'm very confident in my fishing, and I'm very confident fishing with Andy, and like his success winning, the Lake Erie Walleye Trail tournaments. Like, that's tough, and just even winning some local tournaments I wanted. Like, it is tough. I don't care if it's NWT or your local fishing tournaments. Like, it's tough to win in the fishing world, and you gotta live it up when you do. So I was really confident in like what I was going to do. I loved how I fished. I fished patient, and so I did sleep better than I thought. But then at like 1:30, I woke up, and like it hit me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have a camera boat, or I'm going to have a cameraman. I was like thinking about Robert coming to interview me in the morning, and I'm like, I'm just a roofer that is really, really passionate about fishing. So I was like, I'm just going to be who I am. Like, I don't know all the answers, but I go out there and I fish freaking hard. That's one thing you can't take away from me, is like, I go all out every time. I'm like pre-fishing. I'm all out, So, yeah. So then it was day two. So, it was wild.
And then it just happened to be day two. I just happened to go out and win $100,000 and party a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, day two, I mean, I went out there day two, like same thing. The motor lagged a little bit, and it was rough as can be. I remember looking back at the cameraman who was like sitting on on the floor. I'm like, you don't get paid enough for this. Those Vexuses, they just bulldoze through waves. Like
Dude,
I
I've
wish
got
I
one. I
had.
get it.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah, yeah.
Man, I wish I had full horsepower just to like I would be on the throttle, then I would have to like let off and snap it again, and I would get the full RPMs, and I would like pass people with 400 Rangers. Then they would pass me. Then I would pass them. Then I like saw Andy coming up, and he's just burning people. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. So I wish I had the full horsepower just for that. But we rolled into the spot, and I noticed again like there was less bait there, so I was like, let's just like no reason to worry about anything, just go fishing and have fun. And I love the chaos. Like I remember turning around and telling the cameraman, like, this is exactly what I wanted. I want 2 to 3 foot rollers. I want my transducer. Well, I don't want my transducer popping out of the water, but I love it. I like it. I thrive on the chaos, and I got to get a crack in those freaking Minn Kotas or the long shaft. I got to get something different. But went in there, looked around, saw like a decent fish, and casted on it. Instantly went 6.5 pounder. Same thing, another one, 6.5 pounder, another one, 6.5 pounder, and come to find out they were sevens. So I then like I caught like another 5.4 after that, and like a 5.9, and my cutoff was like 5.9, 5.10. I was going to throw back, and I remember I had Tom, my co-angler, with me, and he like unhooked the 5.4, whatever it was, and I'm like, throw it back, and like I didn't hear the splash. So then I look back behind me. Him and the cameraman are like talking. They're like shaking their head. They're like, what was it? He's throwing back, like which was probably a 5.10, or something. And I'm like, dude, I'm like, throw it back. Like we got 3 6.5 pounders in by 9:30. I got 4 hours, 5 hours to fish to catch 2 more fish. Like we just slugged them. Like, let's keep it going. And all of a sudden I heard the kerplunk, and then I just started like fishing till 10:30, and it turned into a ghost town, and I started to freaking panic. I was like, what did I do? I just threw back like some really heavy fives. I should have boxed them. I shouldn't have got cocky. And I ended up like I did catch like a 5.5 pounder or something. I boxed that. And then it was like 12:30. I ended up boxing like a 4.9 or something, like a heavy. It might have been even heavier than that. It was probably like a heavy 4, light 5. And all the doubt just started coming into my mind. I'm like, dude, you're leaving the door open. You can't leave the door open, the NWT. So I went and checked another spot that was close to us. We had another big fish spot. Went in there, same thing. It was like there's bait. There's 3 to 4 pound walleye swimming everywhere, like obnoxious teenagers just swimming all over the place. I'm like, I'm so sick of looking at these fish. Like I'm looking for the big ones and just never found it. I end up going back to my pre-fish routine of running around, marking smelt on the bottom, marking bait at the top, and just trying to go there and catch like 5.5 pounder. Like I did it in practice. Like it was pretty easy to catch 5.5 pounders, and I couldn't even do that.
If I could interrupt you real
Yep.
quick, why do you think that worked? Why did smelt on the bottom and shiners on the top? Why was that the key?
Yeah, I
In your
think
head?
like Andy told me, he's like, that smelt, that big bait is eating like a ribeye to us. So I think, and like the thermocline was at like 55 feet of water, so they liked hanging that out in that thermocline, and it was just right water temperature. They liked that, and I think they could just go to bottom, eat the smelt, or if something, so those fish want to come up top and eat bait at 20 feet of water, I think they had it there. I think they just followed that. Whenever that smelt moved, they followed it around. They're not burning a ton of energy. They get their food source right there. So I think that was the reason. But also it's Lake Erie. Like there could be
Yeah.
no rhyme and reason. There's fish absolutely everywhere. So but just to find a program on those heavy 5 to 6 pounders, that was the key. But so I ended up like scrambling around and never got another upgrade. And I just like, Tom was like cheering me on and stuff. And I told him he's like, I told him, I'm like, I'm not going to run my shuttle on the back because I didn't do it in day one. So like, I want you up front if you want to cast or not. And he's like, I don't want to cast. Like, just, when I need to catch the two fish, I'll catch the two fish. Like I want you to win. So it was really awesome for him because I do feel bad for these co's sometimes. Like, we're up front fishing so hard, and I always want to teach them what I know. If it's anything, I want to teach them something. I've had co's that were better than me, so especially on the Mississippi. But it just came back in really, really like bumming, like, gosh darn it, here was my shot, like I might never have this shot for another 5 years. And came back to the boat launch. I look over, I see everybody in orange. I had so much family there. They knew I was in first. And I look over, I see my nephews and they're screaming, "Hey, Uncle D," like all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm going to finish in the top 5. Like, be happy. Don't let this ruin your day. So it was a long way in. I had to wait a long time. And, I guess I'll finish the story. Then you can ask me whatever questions.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. So
I'm enjoying it.
All right. Yeah. So I waited around and, I saw Tom win, and I saw him in, like I was kind of like anchored up next to Tom, and I didn't even want to know, and it's just like out of respect. I'm not going to be like, "Hey, Tom, did you get him? Did I beat you?" Like he's such a good guy. And, so we just talked, we small talked, and it was nice to talk to him. And, then, I pulled out and Tom weighed and I dodged that bullet. And then like, so all I had to do was like dodge Dewey. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's
like,
a bullet.
Yeah.
that's like a cannon, dude.
Yeah. So I'm like, I was like, well, this is why, this sucks, and I saw him walking up, and like, one of my buddies was like, "Oh, he doesn't have a big bag." Then I think I was standing next to Isaac, and it was kind of funny. I'm like, "Hey, Isaac, what do I do, dude? I don't know what to do in this spot." Just kind of like lighten the mood. And he probably thinks I'm an idiot, but I was joking around. And he's like, "Yeah, Isaac's got a big one in there." Or Isaac said, "Dewey's got a big one in there. He's got like a 30. It's like a 9-pounder." I saw it. And I'm like, "Son of a gun, dude!" Like, good for him, man. Like I was like planning on second place. And then I went back to my boat, and I'm like, all right, let's get these fish out of here. Let's do the walk of shame. So I started taking these fish out of the box, and I'm like, this thing is not a 6-pound fish. Like, this thing is a 7-pounder. Like, every walleye guy can look at something and say like, yeah, that's. So I took one out. I'm like, I cannot believe that thing weighed 6.5. And through the next one, I'm like, same thing. It was like the first 3 fish. I'm like, these things are great fish. So my mind started to change. Like, maybe I do have something bigger than 29 pounds. And still, like, doubt was just screaming at me. And finally I went up to, in the bump tank, and like 2 other people had to weigh in. I'm like, this is miserable. So I finally went up there. They called me up, and I just ran up there and set it on, and that scale instantly went to 32 pounds. And I'm like, oh my gosh. The first thing I thought is like, I need to get a new scale. Like, that Bubba needs recalibrated. Like, I spent a lot of money on that thing, and I wish I knew I had 32 pounds. I would have had a lot better day out there than borderline having a heart attack. So, but after that, I was like, I was just waiting for Jeff to announce it. It felt like 40 seconds, build the anticipation. And right when he said, like, he got the 30 out of his mouth, everybody went berserk. Like, I had so many people come up to me like, "What did you weigh?" I'm like, "I weighed 32. They're like, "Oh, we thought you had 30. All we heard was 30. And we knew you won it." And it was a special moment after that. Like, I just looked out and saw, like, my cousin and Andy, and so many people were like actually emotional. I mean, I was emotional. And my business partner was there. I fished off of his boat. He runs the company when I'm not around. Like, you leave for sometimes 10 days to do these fishing tournaments, and he's just so selfless. And my parents were there, my wife, my dog was there, and my nephews. And then it was just total celebration. I almost blacked out, and just, it was a team victory. Like, I couldn't have done this by myself. I wouldn't have the confidence to pre-fish without Andy Travis and Shane. And so it was just so much celebrating, with them. So I'll stop.
Hey guys, today's show is brought to you by Walleye Nation Creations, lures built by anglers for anglers. From the death jig to crankbaits that drive big walleyes crazy, they've got the tools to help you land your next trophy. Make sure to gear up at walleyenationcreations.com.
I'll
What
stop rambling.
what does the win mean to those guys? What does the win mean to those guys and your family, your wife and your parents, everybody?
Yeah, I didn't think anybody would get it besides like my fishing buddies, you know. But I heard my wife screaming out in the audience, and she knew how passionate I am about this, and she like the win to Andy and Shane was like yeah, Andy was emotional, and I'll never forget like when I hugged my cousin, and he, you know, he's, you know, he, I could see the tears in his eyes, and I hug Andy and he'd see the tears in his eyes. Like like we've worked so hard, like we've tournament fished for, I don't even know, 6 7 years now, you know. And just even if it was a you know, just a little tournament, like I'm probably not going to get emotional, but I'm pumped, you know. It's like awesome. So but it just meant so much for our whole team. And like now those guys want to, you know, they want to get in it. And they just knew it was a big deal for me. And there was no like, it was like sincere, like they were so happy for me, you know. And I wished it was like, honestly, I told Andy, I'm like, I wish this was you. Like, you deserve this more than I do. It was just my day, you know. So it was a great team victory. And that's why, like, even when I talk to people, it's like we did this, you know.
I like the selflessness. That's awesome, man. I can tell you right now, I've never won one, and if I ever do, I'm gonna bawl like a baby, and my wife probably will,
Yeah.
and my parents probably will, because I think it's like winning a Super Bowl, or it's like winning, a World Series title. The road getting there is just as special as the winning moment. Even if you win a little tournament, and small stuff to big stuff, the road getting to those wins, I think, means just as much as winning. And I think if everybody sees how much hard work you put in, they know how passionate you are. It means that much more to them too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, you know, you're chasing wild animals. So like nothing's a guarantee. Like, you know, if I had a great football team and we had an awesome, you know, quarterback and running back and a line, it's like, yeah, we can go out there and dominate, but you're still chasing wild animals. It's mother nature. Like, you know, it's crazy. A lot of things have to work out. And even like my brother came up, and he's like a sports fanatic. He can tell you every stat for, you know, every baseball, football team, and he got it. He's like, you just, like you said, you won the Super Bowl. And even like my in-laws own a marina and a restaurant, and like that, like I walked into the kitchen when I got back, and they were all like, we were huddled around the phone watching, you know. And there we had a county fair going on here, and like people were live streaming the weigh-ins. Like I've heard all this stuff, like how many people, like my employees were like, you know, he was like, I was in Pittsburgh, I was watching this. And people that, you know, probably think I'm a weirdo for fishing like a madman, they all were tuned in. So it was just a special moment. I couldn't believe the community actually got how big this was. And even today, like I just still, I go stop somewhere and people come up and congratulate me. And, you know, it was really awesome. So super
Where's the
fortunate.
trophy at?
Oh, actually,
Yeah. Yes, bring it on. Yes, sir. There it
yeah.
is.
So, I actually like left it in my truck, and like, if Andy and Shane were here, they would be like, yeah, David's going to leave this thing in his truck, and he's going to open the door, and the thing's going to fall on the ground. And it was like laying in my truck for 2 days. And, I had some interviews at my office today. So I was trying to be like, I'm not going to carry this thing around, but like, I had it sitting in my office, and I'm on my computers, and like I can't even work. I'm staring. I got to get this thing out of my office so I can get something done. But yeah, like the money and stuff, like it's awesome to win a boat, but like, you know, like for me, it's like just the
The,
memory. Even I thought the trophy was going to be super awesome, but like I just know that like relationships and stories and memories mean so much in life. And like for the longest time, I worked my life away building my businesses, and I'm done doing that. Like you know, you got to live your dreams, you got to live your passions, even if it's going out and fishing with your nephews, and fishing with your dad, or fishing with whoever, or hunting or something. Like, you know, life is who cares about the, you know, money. And I could say this because I was pretty successful, so I'm you know, I don't know, I'm blabbing, but it's, you can never take that from me.
No,
Never take that from
the
me.
true, we kind of joke about it. I can spend money really fast, like but
Especially
stuff
in the
like,
fishing industry.
oh, dude, yeah, 30 seconds. But like the stuff over my shoulder, that trophy that you have in your hand, and then the memories that you can share with people, especially the people that were in that event, um, that is something that will last 100% forever.
Yeah. And actually the other thing that was really cool, and I wanted to make sure I said this, was like all the pros in the NWT are like, I have not met one that's like some guy that I'm like, man, I wish I wouldn't have met that guy. Like, it was really cool seeing like Tommy Kimos, Chase Parsons, Keith Cavias. They like walked right up to me after I was like done celebrating with my family. And it was like slow motion watching those guys come up, and they didn't like shake my hand and turn their back and walk away. They like shook my hand and like really made good eye contact with me. Congratulations. Like, this is, they just like took their time, and that meant a lot to me. And even like talking to Dewey after everything was over, just talking with him for 5 minutes and just kind of sharing some stuff. And then like right at the pier there was like a pier bar and grill there, and I told my cousin, I'm like, just go open a bar tab. I don't care if you know these people, like just run up a bar, like go buy food, go buy drinks, whatever you guys want, like let's celebrate. And when I walked in there, I was like the last one in there. All my teammates and my friends were in there, and I walked in, and John Hoyer just like gave me the introduction, NWT champion David Hoisington. And like, he didn't have to do that. Then I went up to him and I shook his hand, like, hey man, thanks. Like the whole place went crazy, and we just talked for like 5 minutes. And he was just like, man, one thing, like when I heard your voice cracking up there on stage and seeing your family here, it was like, that's what keeps me motivated. That's why I love fishing. Like, that moment, I've experienced it, but like, you can't get enough of that moment. And he was just really thankful that I got that moment. And a lot of the pros were like, it is really cool to see a pro win like in their hometown. And I think a lot of guys were like, we're extra happy for you for winning in your hometown, and not being a local who's only fished one and you come and win. You know what I mean? I did the whole circuit, one in my hometown. It was just an awesome experience. And even talking to like Isaac and I'm gonna forget a lot of the guys I talked to, but like even like Tom Wynn and stuff, like it's I don't know, they're just solid good guys. And like, even in my business, like, if there's a customer of mine that he's a jerk, or I'm not even going to work for you. Like, go hire somebody else. Like, I don't want to surround my life with those types of people. So it's just good to
Yeah,
know the walleye
I
industry is full of good
think
people.
I think the fishing industry as a whole, I'd say about 98 to 99% of everybody are good people, down to earth, that you can relate to, you can have good conversation with. And the 1% usually doesn't make it. That 1% doesn't, because it's so tight knit. It's not that big of an industry.
No, no. I was surprised by that. And, I've had some guys do some weird things on the water to me and stuff, but I'm like, I'm just, whatever. It's not about ruining, pissing people off and stuff like that. But yeah, so now I'm just living the dream. So I got some cool things coming up, and yeah, just super excited. So
So from here, the National Walleye Tour Championship's coming to Marinette, which is about an hour from my doorstep. Um, what are you looking forward to most about that event?
man, so I fished that area one time, and I should have done this podcast down in my trophy room, but I got like a 12 and a half pounder on the wall there from that, and I'm just excited to go catch big fish, and I'm excited to break that water down. I love fishing weeds. I love just fishing structure. Like, that's where we're like reservoir fishermen, and if there's weeds in it, I'm getting in it. I love scanning weeds, picking walleyes out of the weeds, and I love that stuff. I'm not saying that's going to be it on Green Bay, but I'm excited we're going to have the opportunity to do that and catch big fish there. So I love the clear water there. Like, I used to scuba dive a little bit, and I'm always like, man, if I ever go to Green Bay again, I just want to go scuba diving and look at these walleyes down there. So yeah, just excited to be on a great fishery and break down the waters with Andy and Shane again and see what we can do. I'm going for it again, but ultimately it's like I just want the same goal. Like, hey, I eventually want to start being a consistent walleye fisherman, you know. So, you know, the goal is to make the top 10. So that's the goal right now, and we'll see what happens.
That's a great goal. Awesome. Hey, before we close this out, do you have
Mhm.
one tip? Something, you know, it doesn't have to be.
Oh,
If I just want people to learn more than anything.
uh-oh.
Um,
Did I lose you?
something that somebody from the bank or somebody from, you know, a
Oh,
weekend angler. Sorry, did I cut out for a second there?
yeah, you cut out for a second. I
All right.
got to the one tip.
Yeah, give me one tip that somebody from the bank, a weekend angler, a weekend tournament fisherman, myself, anybody can learn from.
Yeah, I would say, you know, like you eventually have to make the transition of putting, you know, forward facing sonar on your trolling motor. Like I always tell everybody you're going to get worse before you get better. And I would learn boat control and I wouldn't worry about catching fish. I would learn about identifying the fish, know how these things are setting up, what mood they're in, what is a walleye, what's not a walleye. Then like for the guys that like don't have a boat, like fish like crazy off the bank. And even young kids, like, you know, you don't need all this technology. Learn how to read water. And for the guys that might not be able to afford some of this stuff, like go out there and get them. It gives you more motivation to beat some of us guys that are sitting up front staring at a computer screen, you know, naming fish and catching them. Like you can go out there and find some great bites trolling lead core and, you know, jigging points, things like that. So it's a fair game out there. I mean, I really think like probably 80% of the people that are using the forward facing sonar probably don't really, you know as much as they should. And sometimes it makes you a worse fisherman than before it makes you a better one. So that'd be my advice. And just like you don't have to be proud of yourself for winning the local Wednesday night league or the you know the 40-50 boat tournament from your you know in your hometown. Like the NWT isn't for everybody. It's really expensive to do. And you know maybe you know root for guys that are doing it and dream about it. Like, dream about going to do the NWT, but don't ever feel like you're not special because you're fishing local tournaments.
I love it.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, David Hoisington, your National Walleye Tour champion, Dunkirk, New York. Buddy, thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, thanks, Brandon. This was a fun one. Sorry if I was talking too much,
You
but
were great. There's a lot of
yeah.
passion there, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it.